Hello and a very good morning. You're watching the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha television with me, Frank Pereira. Here are this morning's headlines. Prime Minister meets Manmohan Singh and Sonia Gandhi in the backdrop of a standoff over GST bill. Congress raises contentious issues likely to get back to government after consultations. Lok Sabha passes resolution upholding supremacy of constitution. Prime Minister Narendra Modi in his remarks underscores need to highlight importance of November 26th, lauds the contributions of all previous governments. Russia suspends visa-free travel agreement with Turkey as a retaliatory measure over downed jet. Turkish president expresses willingness to meet Russian president at climate summit in Paris to resolve issue. Suspect involved in firing inside a birth control clinic in the US in police custody. At least 11 people, 5 of them police officers, were wounded in the incident. And India take an unassailable 2-0 lead in the 4-match test series against South Africa. Win Nagpur test by 124 runs. Our top focus on the bulletin this morning. Prime Minister Narendra Modi met Congress President Sonia Gandhi and former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh at his official residence in the backdrop of the standoff over the GST bill. The contentious issues flagged by the Congress were raised during the meeting, after which the Congress is now expected to get back to the government after it meets over the matter.
ये ठीक है कि आखिरी चीज अल्पमत बहुमत से बनती है, लेकिन ये हम न भूलें कि लोकतंत्र में ज्यादा ताकत तब आती है जब हम सहमति के रास्ते पर चलते हैं.
The Prime Minister reaching out to the opposition in Parliament ahead of a solitary meeting with Congress President Sonia Gandhi and former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh amid the standoff over the GST bill. Prime Minister Narendra Modi invited the two leaders to his official residence at 7 RCR to discuss the bill that the centre hopes to roll out by April 2016. It is being touted as the biggest tax reform since independence.
माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने पूर्व प्रधानमंत्री डॉक्टर मनमोहन सिंह जी को और कांग्रेस पार्टी की अध्यक्षा श्रीमती सोनिया गांधी जी को संसद के मौजूदा सत्र के कई विषयों के संबंध में बातचीत के लिए आमंत्रित किया था. इस संबंध में कांग्रेस पार्टी के सदनों के जो नेता हैं उनसे भी संसदीय कार्य मंत्री की चर्चा होगी, ताकि अगले सप्ताह से अंत तक संसद की कार्रवाई उचित रूप से चल पाए.
The Congress has been accusing the centre of failing to bring the opposition on board on the GST. The party will now hold consultations again following the meeting with the Prime Minister, and another round of meetings with the government is also likely. The Congress is demanding redressal to 3 sticking points in the government's bill.
हम जीएसटी को पास कराना चाहते हैं, हम कोऑपरेट करना चाहते हैं, मगर हमारे डिफरेंसेस भी हैं बीजेपी की पोजीशन से. तीन मेन डिफरेंसेस हैं और उसमें हम टैक्स पे कैप डालना चाहते हैं. हम ये चाहते हैं कि गरीब लोगों के ऊपर टैक्स ना लगे.
We are the original authors of the GST. Therefore, the 3 points that were raised by the Congress party, or the 3 demands, I would say. One is on the scrapping of the 1% surcharge, which would have a cascading effect and make the GST very high. Second, capping the GST and making a provision for that at 18%. And the third is a meaningful dispute resolution mechanism.
The deadline to pass the GST may be missed if it is not passed in Parliament in the winter session that ends on December 23. The GST will create a single market in India after doing away with state levies and is expected to boost the economy. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, the Lok Sabha has affirmed its commitment to the principles and the ideals of the Constitution and resolved to uphold its sanctity and supremacy. In a resolution moved by Speaker Sumitra Mahajan, the House has also said that it respected the constitutional institutions, their freedom and authority. The House vowed to protect the sovereignty, unity and integrity of the country and the democratic, socialist and secular character. It also pledged to maintain transparency, probity and accountability in public life, and members dedicated themselves to equality and social justice and contribute to the task of building a strong republic. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi sought to calm down apprehensions that his government wanted to make changes to the preamble of the Constitution. Speaking on the commitment towards the Constitution in the Lok Sabha, the Prime Minister said that the Constitution was the basic document which defines three organs of state: legislative, executive and the judiciary. Here's more.
During the debate in Lok Sabha, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said it was the Constitution that keeps the nation united. Stressing on the need to take this discussion into the public domain, he said it should not be limited to the parliament or courts. The Prime Minister also clarified that there was no intention to deny the contributions of any former Prime Minister or leaders who worked for the Constitution and the country.
बाबा साहब आम्बेडकर की भूमिका को हम कभी भी नकार नहीं सकते। इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि बाबा साहब आम्बेडकर की बात करते हैं तो औरों के लिए कोई काम नहीं होता है, लेकिन एक का नाम देंगे तो दूसरे का रह जाता, दूसरे का कहेगा तीसरे का रह, हर एक को लगेगा भाई हमारा भी तो योगदान था। और कुछ लोगों ने तो जीवन में इतनी ऊंचाइयां पाई हैं कि कोई उनका नाम दे या न दे, उनके नाम को कभी कमी नहीं हो सकती, कोई उनको मिटा नहीं सकता है।
In his speech, the Prime Minister also spoke about the ongoing debate on the issue of SC/ST reservation. He clarified his government stand and said there was no rethink on the issue.
और बाबा साहब आम्बेडकर ने यह आरक्षण की व्यवस्था को बल न दिया होता तो कोई मुझे बताएं कि मेरे दलित पीड़ित शोषित समाज की हालत क्या होती। परमात्मा ने उसको सब दिया है जो मुझे और आपको दिया है, लेकिन उसे अवसर नहीं मिला और उसके लिए उसकी दुर्दशा।
The Prime Minister also looked more forthcoming during his speech as he tried to clear all apprehensions surrounding the government's intentions about changing the preamble of the Constitution.
आज के समय में संविधान हमारे पास है, ये कोई भ्रम फैलाते होंगे तो गलत है। न कभी कोई संविधान बदलने के लिए सोच सकता है, और मैं मानूंगा अगर कोई सोचेगा तो आत्महत्या कर रहा है।
Even as the Prime Minister tried to reply to each one of the opposition's questions, his approach seemed more accommodative. Today's speech indicates that bitterness and confrontation between the government and the opposition is on the decline, and that's a good sign for the winter session of Parliament. Shyam Sundar's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, earlier, Lok Sabha members too discussed the commitment towards the Constitution, and several MPs raised the issue of intolerance. Here's a look at the issues raised in the lower house on Friday.
The discussion on the commitment towards the Constitution continued on Friday too. Parliamentary Affairs Minister Venkaiah Naidu urged all parties to put aside their differences and work towards strengthening the core values of the Constitution. Congress leader Jyotiraditya Scindia raised the issue of intolerance.
We have to see that the people of India are empowered. People of India are strengthened. We have political platforms to score political points. We can criticize each other. But in this August forum of this House, my appeal to all is, let us revisit what was the expectation, what are the achievements so far, what are the shortcomings, what are the challenges, how do we move forward. That should be the focus and that should be the agenda.
इस हाउस में बैठे हुए जिम्मेदार लोग, अध्यक्ष महोदय, हम में से कई जब गैर जिम्मेदार वक्तव्य देते हैं, अशोभनीय टिप्पणी करते हैं, तो वो सरकार का नुकसान नहीं होता, वो पार्टी का नुकसान नहीं होता, वो इस देश के इतिहास, वर्तमान और भविष्य का नुकसान होता है। अब धर्मनिरपेक्ष हो, पंथ निरपेक्ष हो, उस कंट्रोवर्सी को छेड़ी गई क्योंकि उस शब्द के साथ इस सरकार को कठिनाई है सेक्युलरिज्म के साथ।
Samajwadi Party Chief Mulayam Singh Yadav raised the issue of reservation, saying political parties should stop talking about ending the system. But Shiv Sena's Arvind Sawant said there's now a greater need to discuss the issue.
अपनी सुविधा के लिए, अपने लाभ के लिए जो देश की एक सबसे बड़ी उपलब्धि है, और कहिए कि कोई धर्म न माने, कुछ न माने, लेकिन इसमें हम मानते हैं कि हमारे देश की बहुत ही धार्मिक पूंजी है, उस संविधान को बदलने की साजिश बार बार की जा रही, संशोधन किए जा रहे, इसलिए समाजवादी पार्टी सहमत नहीं।
पढ़ो, एक हो जाओ और संघर्ष करो। और संघर्ष करने की बात जब करती हैं तो सभापति महोदय, आज भी हमारे पददलित भाई संघर्ष कर रहे हैं, न्याय के लिए कर रहे, कभी प्रमोशन के लिए मांग रहे। इसके ऊपर एक अलग बहस होनी चाहिए, क्या करना है आरक्षण का।
BJD MP Bhartrihari Mehtab said there is a need to have a common civil code. Even as PDP's Mehbooba Mufti said it's wrong to question India's tolerant credentials.
After Supreme Court's prodding, the government is duty bound to act on it. My suggestion would be the government should begin discussions with people of all shades of opinion on this subject.
Right.
There is a need to hold inclusive consultations for a uniform civil code for all stakeholders.
This country belongs to all of us, and this country owns us, and we own this country. तो ये कहने अगर हम कुछ कहें कि भाई यहाँ गलत हो रहा है, उनके हिसाब से मैं अभी भी इस पे खड़ी हूँ कि ये मुल्क सबसे बड़ा टॉलरेंट मुल्क है दुनिया का।
The government declared November 26 as Constitution Day so that the nation could pay tribute to the makers of the Constitution. Pranav Goswami's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Going on now, leader of the Rajya Sabha Arun Jaitly initiated the discussion on India's commitment to the Constitution in the upper house on Friday. He refuted allegations of rising intolerance while also disputing the interpretation of the word secularism, saying the Constitution was not anti-religion but anti-theocracy.
On the second day of the winter session of Parliament, Leader of the House in Rajya Sabha Arun Jaitly took the attack to the Congress camp. Brushing aside its accusations of rising intolerance, Jaitly asked the party to recollect the emergency when the country faced suspension of Article 21 that ensured the right to life and liberty.
That if Article 21 is suspended, because it was suspendable, the citizens of India have lost the right to life and liberty. This was dictatorship at its worst. सबसे बड़ा अधिकार जीने का अधिकार है। आज तो टेलीविजन की स्क्रीन पर कोई आदमी आकर गैर जिम्मेवार बयान दे दे तो हम उसको इंटॉलरेंस मान लेते हैं। उस वक्त तो यह स्थिति थी कि आपको नाजायज तरीके से आपका जीवन भी छीन लिया जाए। Of course there is no comparison. The difference is between a mouse and a molehill.
Jaitly also accused successive Congress governments of frequently misusing Article 356 and weakening federalism. He asserted that only the emergence of strong regional parties and an independent judiciary defeated this threat to federalism.
How many times in the first 40 years, when we almost had a one-party rule at the center, was Article 356 used against the states? The moment we realized the high importance of federal politics and the federal character of India, you had coalition governments, you had regional parties emerging, you had regional parties becoming extremely important part of central governments. This has led to the strengthening of federalism, and that is why we now proudly use words like cooperative federalism.
Warning against judicial activism, Jaitly insisted that the judiciary cannot assume the powers of the legislature. In this context, he also referred to the collegium system of appointing judges to the Supreme Court and the High Courts.
I have said it outside, I have no hesitation in repeating it. The spirit of the original Constitution in matters relating to the judiciary, today the absolute contrary of what Dr. Ambedkar had envisaged and stated is happening. Article 124 and 217, which deal with the appointment of judges of the Supreme Court and the High Court, Dr. Ambedkar in his intervention said in the Constituent Assembly, is this power to be left to the judiciary alone? And he said the answer is no. And therefore the Constitution that he framed clearly said, the President of India will appoint in consultation with the Chief Justice. And today we have reached a situation where the Chief Justice or the Collegium will appoint and everything else is irrelevant.
Jaitly strongly argued that affirmative action was not about creating a preferred class. He insisted that personal laws across religions still violate fundamental rights. Referring to another challenge to the constitutional process, the finance minister underscored the need for a united fight against terrorism instead of adopting a soft approach by some sections. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, the reply of the leader of the opposition, Ghulam Nabi Azad, marked on some points a sharp rebuttal of Jaitly's address. Azad accused the centre of manufacturing intolerance. He said that the BJP was trying to appropriate the legacy of national leaders while attempting to rewrite history.
Replying to Jaitly, leader of opposition in the Rajya Sabha, Ghulam Nabi Azad said the BJP's inability to recognize Jawaharlal Nehru's contribution to India was a sign of intolerance.
ये कैसे हो सकता है कि हिंदुस्तान के संविधान पे भारत के पार्लियामेंट में चर्चा हो और उस पे ऑब्जेक्टिव्स की बात न हो और पंडित नेहरू की बात न हो। सर, इसी को इंटॉलरेंस कहते हैं, इसी को दिस इज द इंटॉलरेंस। द इंटॉलरेंस फ्लोज फ्रॉम द टॉप एंड दिस इंटॉलरेंस इज पर्कुलेटिंग डाउन अप टू द स्ट्रीट्स। दिस इज द इंटॉलरेंस दैट वी आर नॉट एबल टू रिकॉग्नाइज द कंट्रीब्यूशन of the first Prime Minister of India.
Azad emphasized that terrorism does not have any religion and advocated executing terrorists. He, however, urged the government to speed up trials in certain cases.
जो भी हमारे रियासत में हमारे देश वो अंदर वाला हो या बाहर वाला आतंकवादी हो, बंदूक लेके हमारे किसी भी इंसान को मारने आएगा, उसकी लाश वापस जाना चाहिए। ये गुलाम नबी आजाद ने हम और आज भी कहता हूं, तब भी कहा, हर मीटिंग में कहा, कोई भी अप्रिशिएट करते हैं, लेकिन मैं तब अप्रिशिएट करूंगा जब समझौता एक्सप्रेस के लोगों पर भी एक्शन लिया जाए, न कि गवर्नमेंट को कहा जाए सेंट्रल एजेंसीज को स्लो डाउन करो।
Azad also raised notifications and orders passed by different ministers on Constitution Day.
Allocation of business rules, national festivals या कॉन्स्टिट्यूशंस के बारे, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के संबंध में लॉ मिनिस्ट्री, होम मिनिस्ट्री कोई बात करती, ये मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ सोशल जस्टिस कहां से निकली? नोटिफिकेशन, ये मेरे पास नोटिफिकेशन है, नोटिफिकेशन इसकी निकालती है मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ सोशल जस्टिस एंड एम्पावरमेंट। ये सोशल जस्टिस मिनिस्ट्री कौन है? इसको किसने एम्पावर किया? ये कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में क्लियर है, ये इसके ये नहीं कर सकता।
Azad also emphasized that the Congress kept away from the politics of hatred while accusing the government of adopting the British policy of divide and rule. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, it's time for a short break now, but much more lined up on the other side. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
Tales that inspire, stories of social change. A salute to diversity, promoting public discourse. Events that motivate, inspiring the innovative spirit. Watch Rajya Sabha television documentaries every Friday at 10:30 p.m, Saturday 12:30 p.m, and Sunday at 1 p.m.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. Well, former Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Farooq Abdullah sparked angry reactions from the BJP by stating that Pakistan-occupied Kashmir will remain with Pakistan while Jammu and Kashmir will be a part of India. Abdullah told reporters in Srinagar that both India and Pakistan must engage in dialogue to bring peace in the region. He said war was not the solution. His comments drew sharp reactions from the BJP.
वो पाकिस्तान का हिस्सा है और पाकिस्तान का हिस्सा रहेगा. ये भारत का हिस्सा है, ये भारत का हिस्सा रहेगा. ये बात समझ जाइए. सिर्फ एक बात रास्ता निकल सकता है कि हिंदुस्तान और पाकिस्तान बातचीत करे और बातचीत करके कोई रास्ता निकाले.
Many citizens of the country, their wish is different and Farooq ji's wish is different. It is totally against the stand of the government of India, against the stand of Indian people.
In the year 1994, there was a unanimous resolution passed by the Parliament of India, wherein it was clearly stated that as far as Jammu and Kashmir is concerned, between India and Pakistan, if at all there is any outstanding issue, it is that of how to retrieve back the part of Jammu and Kashmir which continues to remain under illegal occupation of Pakistan.
कश्मीर के राजा ने पूरा अपनी रियासत हिंदुस्तान में शामिल जब की थी, तो जो आधार और जो एक प्रिंसिपल तय हुआ था, उसके आधार से तो हमारा हक बनता है.
I think it is for the people of Jammu and Kashmir to decide, neither for me nor for anyone else. It is for the people of Jammu and Kashmir to decide their future.
Well, Commonwealth heads of government met in Malta on Friday. After the G20 and ASEAN meets, the leaders once again focused on how to combat terrorism and global climate change. French President François Hollande compared environmental damage to the threat of terrorism, saying that it was the duty of mankind to reach an agreement on climate change. Britain's Prime Minister David Cameron announced setting up of a £5 million fund for the bloc to target terror groups. Queen Elizabeth officially opened the discussion, saying that the Commonwealth leaders would be charged with demonstrating leadership on an agenda of global issues. External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj is representing India at the three-day summit. Leaders from 53 countries are attending the meeting that will continue until Sunday, a day before a major United Nations climate change conference is set to begin in Paris.
L'homme est le plus grand ennemi de l'homme. Nous le voyons pour le terrorisme. Mais nous pouvons aussi le dire pour le climat. C'est l'homme qui dégrade la planète. C'est l'homme qui détruit la nature.
The Commonwealth is this extraordinary organisation, a third of humanity, countries stretching the globe, half of it under the age of 25. So I think one of the most important things we can do here is talk about the perils of Islamist extremist violence and the problem of extremism more broadly.
Well, let's take a look now at the news and events lined up for the day in our segment, The Day Ahead. BJP Chief Amit Shah will host Media Milan Samaro at his residence today. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also attend the function and meet senior journalists and editors from various media organizations. In Bihar, the Lok Janshakti Party has organized a Chintan Baitak today in the backdrop of the recently concluded Bihar Assembly elections. Many senior party dignitaries, including LJP party chief, will join the meeting. The second Sadbhavna rally by the ruling Shiromani Akali Dal will be held in Punjab's Moga district today. After drawing flack in view of series of incidents of sacrilege, the Shiromani Akali Dal hit the ground by holding series of rallies. The first such rally was held in Bathinda on 23rd of November. Well, a war of words continues between Russia and Turkey over the downed jet near the Syrian border. In the latest of a range of retaliatory measures, Russia had suspended its visa-free agreement with Turkey. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, meanwhile, expressed his willingness to meet the Russian president face-to-face later at the climate talks in Paris to resolve the issue.
Dispute over the downed Russian jet near the Syrian border is getting murkier. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan warned Russia not to play with fire. At the same time, he added that Turkey does not intend to harm relations with Moscow. He also expressed his willingness to resolve the issue, as he said he would like to meet the Russian president face-to-face during the climate summit in Paris in December.
DAEŞ'le mücadele bahanesiyle uluslararası meşruiyeti olan muhalifleri vurmak, evet, ateşle oynamaktır. Türkiye'nin haklılığının tüm dünya tarafından kabul edildiği bir hadiseyi bahane ederek
Russia seems unrelenting on its part, unless Turkey offers an apology. Russia has already suspended its visa-free travel agreement with Turkey as a retaliatory measure. Meanwhile, Syrian Foreign Minister also accused Turkey of supporting Islamic State and other militant groups in the war-torn country.
Принято решение руководством Российской Федерации о том, чтобы приостановить безвизовый режим, который сейчас действует между Россией и Турецкой Республикой. Это решение вступит в силу с 1 января следующего года.
نحن عانينا 5 سنوات من العدوان التركي على سوريا ومن أطماع أردوغان بشمال سوريا ومن دعمه المتواصل.
In Russia, a funeral was held for the Marine killed in Syria on Friday. He was killed during a search and rescue operation for pilots of downed jet near Turkey-Syria border. Earlier on Tuesday, a Russian warplane was shot down by Turkish Air Force as they accused Moscow of violating their airspace, which has led to a war of words between the NATO ally and Russia. It has further complicated international efforts to battle the Islamic State. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And some more international news now. The police officers have arrested a suspect who stormed a Planned Parenthood clinic in the US city of Colorado Springs. At least 3 people have been killed during the exchange of gunfire with police from inside a birth control clinic. Several other people were injured. A male suspect was taken into custody after a standoff with police lasting hours at the Planned Parenthood clinic. A number of people were trapped inside the clinic while the standoff with police took place. According to officials, the motive for the incident is unclear.
Is in custody. The situation has been resolved. There's no continuing peril to the citizens of Colorado Springs. But there's a huge crime scene that has to be processed. We have to determine exactly how many victims there are, and we'll be reporting on that in the near future.
That's the incident, of course, that's taking place in the US in Colorado, which has been brought under control, and the suspect is now killed. Moving on now, of course, to some sports news. India has clinched the 4-match test series 2-0, beating South Africa in the 4th test, or rather the 3rd test, by 124 runs at Nagpur. Chasing a mammoth target of 310, the Proteas were bundled out for 185 runs in their 2nd innings. Continuing at the overnight score of 32 for 2, South Africa were reeling on 58 for 4 when skipper Hashim Amla and Faf du Plessis stood their ground and resisted India's push for a victory. The duo's partnership was ended by Amit Mishra. Off-spinner Ravichandran Ashwin was adjourned the man of the match for his career-best figures of 7 for 66. This was also Virat Kohli's first Test series win as captain on home soil and marked an end to South Africa's track record of not losing a Test series away from home in 9 years. With this win, India has taken an unassailable 2-0 lead against the Proteas. The two teams will meet for the 4th and final Test in Delhi.
Is this the first one? Yes. Oh, this is going to be close. He started running after he made that appeal. He knew what was going to happen.
Well, here's a look at the other overnight sports news in our segment Sports Wrap. Indian shuttler PV Sindhu advanced to the semi-finals of the Macau Open. Sindhu defeated her Chinese opponent Chen Yufei 21-13, 18-21, 21-14 in just 54 minutes. The defending champion will take on Japan's Akane Yamaguchi in the semi-finals. In the men's singles, HS Pranoy and B Sai Praneeth lost their respective quarter-final matches. Argentina beat India 3-0 in the opening match of the Hockey World League final in Raipur. Argentina dominated the match and scored from 3 penalty corner situations, with Gonzalo Pele and scoring twice and Joaquin Menini adding the other. India will next play Olympic champions Germany. Andy Murray brought Great Britain level at 1 apiece against Belgium in the Davis Cup final. The world number 2 won the feisty encounter against Ruben Bemelmans 6-3, 6-2, 7-5. Earlier, David Goffin gave Belgium a 1-0 lead after coming from 2 sets down to beat Kyle Edmund. Champions Barcelona will host Real Sociedad in the La Liga game today. Barca, who are chasing a 6th La Liga title in 8 years, have scored 10 goals in their last 2 matches. The Catalans thrashed Real Madrid 4-0 last weekend and then scored 6 against Roma in the Champions League, with Messi scoring 2. Well, that's it on this edition of the Breakfast News. Have a good day.